Hello, welcome to the part one of our series of the tutorial on how to use Deneir's gate. In this, we'll be walking through a lot of the big major features that exist within Deneir's gate starting from scratch. And in order to show these features and also display how efficient this app can be and speeding up the creation process, we'll be using the Lost Mine of Pandelver starter adventure from D&D just as an example, something that everybody is familiar with. So for this part of the tutorial, we're going to be walking through the initial campaign creation process, as well as setting up players for our campaign. Now, as soon as you log into the screen, and this is a brand new account that I have that I'm using, you will see a tutorial pop up here to start walking you through everything. There's a lot of these that pop up throughout the site in order to help guide you, and I'll be closing out of them, obviously, as I don't need them. And so, which you can just close the X button up here, and that'll hide it permanently from you. But if you ever need to see a tutorial on a screen again, this little question mark will be up here if there's a tutorial available, and you can always just click on that to bring the tutorial back up for yourself. So the first thing that we're going to do is create the campaign. And we can do that by just clicking the simple create campaign button up here. And we get our tutorial friend again. And we'll just go ahead and name it after the Lost Mine of Pandelver, as that's what we're basing this on. We'll be making changes to this. This won't be an exact replica of what's in the D&D book. This is just as something to be a familiar starter. All right, now that we have that, we'll provide a little description. Our adventurers set off to explore, yada, 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 whatever you want to provide for your description here. Perfect. And if you want to, you don't need to, but if you have the Dungeon Master subscription, you can have multiple campaigns, and having an image to represent your campaign might be helpful. So I have a little one here that we'll just upload. There we go, and we'll save it. All right. It says we get notifications down here when we save our content successfully, or if there's any issues. That said saved successfully. So then we'll just go back to our campaigns, clicking on my campaigns over here, and our tutorial friend keeps coming up. And now we can see our campaign all set here, ready to go. So we have our name, our description, and our image to just help represent it. And if we ever want to edit this, then as you see when you hover over it, we have this little button that pops up here, and we can always click on that to edit it or delete it. And of course, you can delete items, at least most of the time, right inside the item itself as well. So now we'll go ahead and click into it. And we'll go ahead and skip the dashboard tutorial here, and I'll be coming back to this in a later video once we have more content to show off. So this would be our campaign dashboard, but let's go ahead and move into creating our players. So down here, you can always click add player right there, and that will take us to our new player screen. And there is an alternative way to get here as well, which I'll show you. I'll skip out of this tutorial. So it designs this to be a player is to click on this player character switch up here, and that will now make this registered as a player in our campaign and not just an NPC. The other way we can get here is, as you can see when we're here, the characters menu item is highlighted. We can also click here and click on create character in order to get to the screen as well. So we'll go ahead and click player character. Now, of course, when you're actually playing, your players will have designed characters. And so when you come in here, you would be able to put in whatever stats that they've come up with and whatever race they are. This includes all of the races and classes, backgrounds, and alignments that are included with the base 5th edition of D&D. But you can come in here and use any of these: Forest Gnome, Druid, Entertainer, Lawful Evil, the best characters. But for our case here, what we're going to go ahead and do is just use our suggest character feature. And all the suggestion features are available for anyone with the Dungeon Creator subscription or higher, so Dungeon Creator or Dungeon Master. And I'll use these just to save time here, because this is also how you can create your NPCs, just by clicking on this button here. So as we click on it, we get a completely random character. We have a random first name, last name, all their base characteristics here of race and class, and also random stats that are sort of made in an algorithm to average out to usually have something around one negative, one very high positive, and everything else sort of in between. We get a random fear, ideals, all those sort of things. And so this is a human warlock, so I'm just going to go ahead and leave that as is for now. And click on here, and we'll just upload a little portrait. And these images, by the way, these are just things grabbed off the internet. These aren't things available to you through the app, but these are just ones I searched for these races and downloaded the images, just to be able to give some visualization. So we'll just go ahead and use that there. I'll provide a language of common. If my player had any abilities or statuses that he's already written down, then I would just go ahead and supply those there. So we have that. And for the backstory, a random one was generated for us when we clicked the suggest character button. Otherwise, of course, you could supply a much longer and detailed backstory or not, depending on whatever your player gives you. And you can also come back here if you're just creating a random character and just trying to give them a brief little backstory or a place of inspiration. You can click on the suggestion magic wand button up here to create just a different backstory there, which will add on to it. So we'll take that second one just for fun. And there we go. And for weapons and spells, this is all a little bit of manual work, but this can be very helpful because this allows you to sort of keep track of your players and what weapons they have and the stats on them. Sometimes you forget what those are, exactly what their AC is. Everything's very fun and dandy until you realize your wormling can't hit your fighter because he has a 25 AC for some reason that you don't remember giving him. And so you can keep track of all those things here. I'll go ahead and just put in a weapon, not using any actual statistics here, but just to give an idea of, let's say, a short sword, and we can keep track of their attack of, let's say, what is it, plus 2 of a damage of a 1d6, right? And bonus damage of 2. And we'll just go ahead and say a fire. And we can always erase these by using the little eraser marks here. So if I just type in random things there, that'll clear out this whole row. So we'll keep track of that. And any spells. Let's see, what did we end up with? He's a warlock. Warlock with a short sword. So let's see. With a warlock, they go with, I don't remember off the top of my head. Either it's intelligence or charisma. We'll go ahead and say charisma just for fun. And so we see that we actually get a save DC, the spell attack. And these things are set pre-based in the system. You can, of course, change these, but based on its level, it'll help calculate these out for you. And I don't have a list of the spells next to me, but if you wanted to, you can always come in here and fill these parts in. But the even better part of that is your players can get free accounts on the site, come in here and supply this themselves. And as they update them, especially if they're more permanent and they're not changing all the time, they can just log in, access their character here, and supply these things. And you can always just kind of come back and check to see what they have access to, what they're utilizing currently, and things just to help keep track of them. And of course, we have the inventory tab here where we can also keep track of how much money they have or who has what. You remember that you gave somebody that special item that's going to be cursed, but you don't know who ended up with it at the end of the day. Bam, right here, you can come in and you can see this information just to remember. So I'll just go ahead and give them our level 1 person a bag of holding just for fun. And of course, the amount of money that they have, right? Good to know how much money they have when you're setting the prices for things for them to buy. And for fun, we'll just start them off with about 10 gold. And there we go. We have a complete character. And in this case, one that was mostly generated completely for us. We'll leave them at level 1. We'll go ahead and hit save. And again, we get our little notification down there, and we're all done. And so we can just head back to our dashboard here by clicking on the dashboard button. And let's just go ahead and add some other players in here. So for these next ones, we'll just go ahead and sort of skip through them very quickly. I'll just use the suggest character button, which again will show you how quickly you can make a completely random character very, very fast. And we'll just go ahead and pick our little dwarf here. And we'll set them in here as a hill dwarf. Everything else looks good. We have our backstory. Perfect. We'll go ahead and save that. We'll make sure we save them as a player there. Yeah. And let's go ahead and add our other two. Suggest character. We'll say she looks like a full elf. There we go. And we have our backstory again. Boom. Save that. Let's make sure we save them as a player. And I think we already had Osmond used before, so we'll just click on the little suggestion feature here. On this page, we have the suggestion, the magic wand feature. In a lot of the places, first name, last name, fears, ideals, as well as the backstory. And of course, as we have already been seeing, the entire suggest character button there. So we'll go ahead and suggest a different first name for them. Great, Largo, sounds good. And we'll use Tiefling and make sure to change this to Tiefling. And again, we have our backstory, looks good. So we'll go ahead and save it, and we'll make sure to save it as a player again. And let's go back to our dashboard here. And now we can see our players are all down on the bottom here. So we can see them at any time in our dashboard. And we get these nice visuals for them to see them in action. And when we need to double check their basics, we can always just hover over them and get their name, their race, their class, and what level they currently are, just to give us a reminder of where we are, because that's the whole point of the dashboard, which we'll go into in more in the future. But the dashboard is to give us a nice update on where we currently are in the campaign, what's currently happening, where our players currently are at, what their levels are, all those sort of things. So the last thing that we'll go through here is how to allow your players to have access to your player characters in your campaign. And so with this, we'll do a little bit of pausing while I switch into another account so we can see this in action. So we'll start right here from the home page of seeing our new player create an account. So we'll click on create account there, give ourselves a little different icon. I'll use a Caboose player as one. I'll provide my email in a second, and we'll create our passwords. And I'll go ahead and finish the creation process, and we'll pick up with our player logged in. All right, so now we're logged in as our new player account, which we created for free. As you can see, there's not really a lot to do when you just have your player account other than viewing your characters and your profile. So what I'm actually going to do from here is send a friend request to my DM account, which we can do by just clicking up on the friends icon at the top. And we'll click on add friend. And I'll go ahead and put a search in for my other account. Search for them. And I found them pop up right there. I'm just going to go ahead and send a request. Excellent. And now I'll switch accounts back over to my DM account to go ahead and accept that request. All right, back in on my DM's account, I do have a notification up here, and I can click on that, and we see that I have a new friend request from my player account. So I'll go ahead and click on that. And it will take us to our friend request here, which I'll go ahead and accept. Excellent. And now I can see them under my friends tab here. And we'll go back to our dashboard. We can see that we have our player online there. And we'll go ahead and add our player to, he's got a dwarf icon, so we'll add him to our dwarf Puyeto here. I'll click on him, and I can say invite user, right? And so when I click on that, I see a list of my friends available. And here I can see my Caboose player account. So I'll go ahead and click on him. And we see that we have an invite sent. So now I'll switch back over to my player account, and we can see how to accept that. All right, so back in the player account, the first thing we see when we log in is our characters page, where we can see any character invites. So we can see the character right here in front of us. We'll also get a notification up here if we want, which will take us to this same page. So again, we can see our Pieto, the dwarf, request right here. So we'll go ahead and accept that. And now we see Pieto has put itself into our available characters. And if we click on that, we now have complete access to the character where we can make any updates to his weapons and spells, his inventory, his backstory, anything that we need to or want to give an update for. We'll just provide him with common and dwarvish here. Maybe even knows how to speak some abyssal for whatever reason. Dwarfish. I always do that. And yeah. And that's pretty much it. And we can go ahead and save that right here. And we'll switch back to the DM account and see those changes in action. All right, we're back on the DM account, and we have another notification up here. Oh, just letting us know that Caboose player accepted the character invite, so we do know that they have access to them now, which is great. So go ahead and click on Piero, and we can see up in the top right here the account associated to the character. We see that Caboose player has access to our character, and we can see those changes have gone through. And that is pretty much the gist of creating our campaign, creating players and characters in general, as well as how to invite our actual players to create accounts and have access to these players that they can create in the future. And we will pick up in the next tutorial. Thanks.